So going down this weekend, we got UFC Vancouver, Reinier De Ridder versus Brendan Allen. And in this video, I will be giving you my full card breakdown along with a pick for every single fight on this card, man. And listen, I actually think that this is a very good card from top to bottom. And listen, I know the main event lost some steam, right? We were really looking forward to RDR versus Fluffy Hernandez. However, in steps Brendan Allen. And shout out to Allen for stepping in and taking this fight because he's got a big opportunity in front of him, right? And I think stylistically, look, Brendan Allen might be able to cause some problems for Reinier De Ridder, right? We've seen Brendan Allen. He's kind of one of those guys when he fights the elite in the weight class, he loses, but when he fights the mediocre, he wins. So he's kind of in no man's land in the middleweight division. And look, if he could go out there and find a way to beat RDR, man, that would be probably the biggest win of his career. And for RDR, I mean, he's been rattling off the wins like crazy since coming into the UFC, right? And he's a big physical guy in this weight class, coming off of the biggest win of his career against Robert Whittaker. And he is a savage, man, for just being willing to be like, look, I know it's not fluffy, but I will fight a step back here in the rankings. And Brendan Allen, big risk for RDR here, but if he could go out there and get this one done, that is another big name added to the middleweight resume of Reinier De Ridder. Very intrigued to see how this main event plays out because it's very interesting stylistically. And listen, in the co-main event, Mike Malott. I called him Mike Maflop for a while, right? And we kind of got away from that because he went out there, got the victory. You know, he's rattled off 2 in a row. But the last time Mike Malott had a name in front of him, he went out 2-0 against Neil Magny, went up 2-0 against Neil Magny, and then ended up getting finished in the very third round against the gatekeeper in the welterweight division. But listen, Neil Magny's been rattling off some wins as well, so I don't think it's aged as horrible as it originally was. But now he has a name in front of him, a journeyman in Kevin Holland, to where this is the biggest opportunity for Mike Malott since that Magny fight. And if he could go out there and beat Kevin Holland, that would be absolutely massive for Mike Malott. So we'll see if he could get that thing done. And listen, in the bantamweight division, this is a must-win fight for both guys, right? Aiemann Zahabi, pushing 38 years of age, one of these guys that is really hitting his stride later in his career, but he's across from one of the most game guys in the bantamweight division in Marlon Chito Vera, who I think desperately needs a win, man. Coming off of 2 back-to-back losses, he's in an interesting spot in his career as Chito Vera. This is an important fight for both guys in the bantamweight division. And when it comes to WMMA, man, stylistically, it doesn't get much more intriguing than this one right here. Manon Fiorot, coming off of that title fight loss to Valentina Shevchenko. Now she's going in there against one of the most hyped up fighters in WMMA right now in Jasmine Jasudavicius, who's looking like the real deal. This is a massive fight in WMMA, man. I'm actually really intrigued to see how this one plays out. But let's hop into this thing, man. I'm actually really looking forward to this card. We got some names on here. We got some prospects. I'm excited for this thing. But first fight of the night, we got Melissa Croden versus Tainara Lisboa. I'm going to go Melissa Croden by decision here. Now, I do want to point out that out of the 6 victories in Melissa's career, all of them are by finish, right? 5 of them are by knockout. 1 is by submission. And one of her losses on her record, it was a 5-rounder against Jacqueline Cavalcanti, who, by the way, Jacqueline Cavalcanti's been sensational in the UFC. Long, rangy, float like a butterfly, sting like a bee type of striker, right? Good straight shots, right? And that's kind of where Melissa struggled. She got dropped quite a few times in that fight. However, she showed she's a dog man, right? She's 5'9", got a 69.5-inch reach. She's going to have a slight reach advantage here. And I just think that she's the grittier fighter, man. This is a big opportunity for her. This is a debut, right? Rattling off back-to-back wins over in LFA, right? And I feel like LFA, right? A lot of fighters come over from there, do pretty well in the UFC. I feel like she is going to be one of those. In Canada, in front of the hometown crowd, Tainara Lisboa is just not that good, man. She just isn't. Listen, since she's been in the UFC, right, she got the sub victory over Jessica Rose Clark. You know, she beat Oliveira, goes out there and loses. I mean, this was an awful performance against Luana Santos where she got finished on the ground. However, I mean, we've seen Luana Santos is kind of good, right? But Tainara Lisboa, there's kind of this weird mystique about her, right? She kickboxed against Valentina back in the day. She fought her in Muay Thai as well, so she's 0-2 against Valentina in striking, but we all get it, it's Valentina. But with Lisboa, you kind of think of her as like, oh, she's this Muay Thai striker, right? And yes, she's got kind of the basic Thai techniques on the feet, but really, it's her ground game to me that has kind of shined the most in MMA, right? She's got 3 wins by knockout, 3 by submission, 1 by decision. But I just don't like what I've seen from her in MMA, right? I feel like on the ground, she's kind of better, right? In this matchup, that's not good because I think Melissa Croden is better than her on the ground, right? And I think on the feet, maybe Tayanara out in space, out at range, maybe she can find a home for the kicks and the long combinations. But I feel like Melissa's going to turn this into a grit fest. I think she's going to push her up against the fence, take away the space, land those knees and elbows in close, and maybe even takes her down and beats her up on the ground, man. I think Melissa at this point in time, she is just the better fighter. I think it's really that simple. Give me Melissa Croden to get this one done. While Lisboa has this Muay Thai background, I just haven't been wowed at what it has looked like in MMA. Give me Melissa Croden to get this one done. Next, we got Aiemann Bekoev versus Yusri Belgaroui. I'm going to go Aiemann Bekoev by second round TKO stoppage. Listen, I am a fan of Yusri Belgaroui. Those of you that are watching the channel, look, I like Glory Kickboxing, love watching the striking arts, man. Yusri is a guy that he was around in Glory for quite some time, right? He was 27-7 in Glory, 13 KOs, right? Had the trilogy with Poatan Pereira. He beat him the first time, got knocked out, the next two fights by Poatan, and now they're training partners. Now they're friends, right? Which is always cool to see something like that. He's working with Glover Teixeira. Hopefully they're plugging the holes on the takedown defense because with a 6'5", frame, with a 79-inch reach, Yusri Belgaroui, he's going to have a significant advantage in that department over a lot of middleweights. But, this is one heck of a debut to draw, man. It just is, right? And I think he was compromised coming into this fight on the Contender Series. He showed grappling issues, right? Marco Tulio, who's a fun prospect, right? Shown that he's pretty good in the UFC so far, right? Marco Tulio's known for his striking. He was out there dominating Belgaroui on the ground. Right, then Yusri comes back in the Contender Series, kind of a lackluster fight, but does get the finish. Right, we've just seen with Yusri, I got to see more on the ground, man, before I pick this guy. And it's not even so much that. It's what a difficult debut, man. What a horrific debut, honestly, to draw, right? Aiemann Bekoev is a monster. Right, since coming over to the UFC, made his debut on short notice, absolutely destroyed Zachary Reese. Then goes out there and destroys Ryan Loder, who's got a pretty solid wrestling background. Right, Aiemann Bekoev's an absolute dog, man, right? Competed over in LFA, competed over in ACA. Those are very, very solid promotions. You face good competition in those places. Bekoev's a monster, man. This isn't so much about, I feel like Yusri can eventually be decent in the UFC. We've seen a lot of guys come over from Glory, right? Janata Denise, Cesar Almeida, Izzy, Poatan. But really, outside of Izzy and Poatan, a lot of these guys, they struggle to find their footing. And what tends to be the pop-up problem, it is the takedown defense. And in your debut, you're facing, a really good wrestler with nasty ground and pound, right? Bekoev, he's got, what does he have here? He's got 8 knockouts, 8 submissions, 4 decisions. It's a disaster for Yusri Belgaroui in his debut. I like Yusri, right? He has a chance against anybody on the feet. Long, rangy, good front kicks, good kicks from range, nice jab, good right hand. So if he can keep it on the feet, of course he gives himself a chance, man. I'm not going to count out Yusri in this fight because I do think he's the better striker. But the problem is it's MMA, man. And the threat of the takedown is a real thing, obviously. And the power that Bekoev, presents, I know he's a little reckless, but he could just shoot a double leg and pick Yusri up and drop him on his ass. And I feel like that's what he's going to do in this fight. Land some big shots on the feet. Yusri's got that tall man defense. While he was good in Glory, he's not Izzy or Poatan, man. He's just not. He doesn't have the touch of death. He doesn't have this super slick striking style. While he's good, does the basics very, very well. He's long and rangy. It's hard not to see Bekoev getting in on the hips, landing some of those shots, picking him up, taking him down, and beating him up on the ground. I know Yusri, I'm sure he's improved, right? Like I said, he was compromised coming into this fight against Marco Tulio, showed some improvements, his second time on the Contender Series. I don't know, the UFC, they just seem a little reluctant with this guy to give him that chance. And now your debut against Bekoev, that's a really tough draw, man. If it was against, a guy like a Ryan Loder, who I know's got good grappling, a Zachary Reese, maybe I would take a shot on Yusri. But from what I've seen from Aiemann, man, it's more about how much of a beast Aiemann Bekoev is, man. This guy's an absolute savage. He's very well-rounded. I think he gets inside that range of Yusri and beats him up on the ground. I don't trust the ground game of Yusri at this point, although I would like to see him do well. Steep hill to climb in the debut. Next, we got Stephanie Luciano versus Ravena Oliveira. I'm going Stephanie Luciano by decision. Listen, I don't think that this one particularly is going to be that close. Listen, it's WMMA. Anything can happen. Ravena Oliveira, she's got 6 wins by knockout, 1 submission. She's 0-1 in the UFC. She's coming off of a loss to Tayanara Lisboa, which, like I said, that's not a particularly great look because I think Lisboa is kind of meh, right? And with Oliveira, she's got some power. She's chaotic, but I don't like how she hasn't been able to settle into a weight class. I mean, she's been bouncing around multiple different weight classes, it seems. And to me, that's, sure, you could say, oh, she's just trying to find kind of the right weight class for her. But I'm like, look, it just seems like she's trying to move down to bully the smaller fighters here. That's kind of how it looks like for me. And I feel like the weight cut's going to be an issue. Feel like she's going to be a little bit drained from that. And yes, she might be kind of the bigger fighter, so to speak. But I mean, Luciano, she's got a solid frame for this weight class. 5'6" with a 66.5-inch reach. She's got the reach advantage. To me, it just comes down to the speed, the footwork, and the versatility when it comes to Stephanie Luciano, man. 2 knockouts on her resume, 4 decisions. She's a scrappy striker, right? Had the draw on DWCS, came back, right the wrong, got the victory over Alan Carr. I just, I know she's coming off of a loss to Sam Hughes, but I mean, Sam Hughes has her way with prospects. She's well-rounded. She's gritty. She, threatens the takedowns. This is more of a striking type of matchup, and I'm going to favor the speed, the footwork, and the technicalities of the faster, lighter fighter here in Stephanie Luciano. I don't like how Oliveira seems like she can't find her rhythm in any weight class. Give me Stephanie to go out there and pick and poke to a decision victory. Next, we got Kyle Prepolec versus Drew Dober. I'm going to go Drew Dober by knockout. I'm going to say it happens in the first round, right? Maybe it happens a little bit later, but look, Kyle Prepolec is one of those guys that it just has not been good whenever he gets an opportunity in the UFC. He's 0-3 in UFC fights, right? And I know that he, spends some time away, comes back on short notice, steps in there against Benoit Saint-Denis, and what an awful way to be welcomed back to the UFC. Stepping in on short notice against a complete savage in Benoit Saint-Denis, got absolutely dominated on the ground against Benoit, but we saw Kyle land some pretty decent shots on him, right? He was landing some decent shots on the feet, but we know Benoit doesn't have the best of, striking defense, and I feel like Benoit just gave this guy no respect. Was like, I don't care, throw what you're going to throw. I'm just going to eat it, get in your face, take you down, and there's nothing that you can do. This is more about Drew Dober, man. Like, I know Drew Dober, right, he's coming off of some losses, right? Got, finished by Manuel Torres, dangerous prospect. Got KO'd by Jean Silva, dangerous guy. Right, goes out there, loses to Moicano, gets starched by Matt Frevola. His last victory was 2 years ago against a washed-up Ricky Glenn. Hasn't been great for Drew Dober, man. Just hasn't. Right, but if you look at who Drew Dober is losing to, I mean, he's losing to Jean Silva, Torres, Renato Moicano, Matt Frevola, Islam Makhachev. Right, he's beaten a Nasrat Haqparast, beaten a Terrence McKinney. He's beaten guys that are much better than Kyle Prepolec. The biggest concern that I have with Drew Dober is a guy that was known for his durability. It seems like at this point in his career, that's kind of going away. It feels like his chin is starting to fade. But does Kyle Prepolec, even though he's got 10 KOs on his record, 4 submissions, is he a guy that's super threatening to Drew Dober here? I don't think so. It just worries me with the durability of Drew, but at the end of the day, I think Drew's better everywhere. I think he's got a better ground game, right? Drew has got 11 knockouts, 9 submissions. I could see him finding a club and sub here. But Drew Dober, as of late, he's fell in love with the knockout, man. I think he moves forward, lets his hands go, lets those kicks fly, beats up the lead leg of Kyle Prepolec, stops the takedowns. If anyone has success on the ground here, I feel like it could be Drew Dober. I could see Drew Dober coming out, looking to take him down, beat him up on the ground, but I just feel like we get a back-and-forth scrap on the feet. I favor the power and the more trusted guy that we've seen in the UFC who has actually won fights in the promotion. Give me Drew Dober to get this one done by round 1 knockout. I think it's a bad night for Kyle blah, blah, blah. Next, we got Danny Barlow versus Jourdain Santos. I'm going to go Danny Barlow by decision, right? I like Danny Barlow, man, right? This is a guy that, walks out to Young Dolph, run up on this fire and get burnt, little homie. Spent $500,000 just on furniture. Like, I love Danny Barlow's walkout. Walks out to Young Dolph, right? It's a vibe. Listen, I like Danny Barlow. Fun to watch. This was a guy that had a lot of hype on him. Coming into the UFC, 2-1, right? Things have looked pretty good. Goes out there, starches Josh Quinlan in the debut, right? Came off the Contender Series, got the nice finish over Forrest, right? Beats Nikolay Veretennikov by split decision, and it's like, but we've seen that with Veretennikov on the feet, he's actually pretty good. The problem tends to be the ground game for him, right? But then he's coming off of a bad loss where he got, brutally finished by Sam Patterson. But we've seen Sam Patterson's a dog, man. He's been rattling him off. Since coming up to the welterweight division. Barlow's looking for kind of a new life for himself. Moving up to the middleweight division here, coming up from welterweight. I think he's going to have a significant speed advantage here. He's the more technical fighter. He's got good hands, good straight shots. right? And with Jourdain Santos, I'm just not sold on this guy. This guy's 28 years of age. He looks like he's 50. I don't know, man. I don't believe this guy's 28, dog. He looks old as hell, right? And then he comes over, wins what I thought was just kind of a lousy decision on the Contender Series. They give him a contract because he moves forward, throws caution to the wind, forgets the technique, slingshot, ooga booga, just kind of moves forward, slap shots out there, got good cardio, durability, moves forward, has no problem getting into the phone booth and slugging it out. However, I'm just not impressed with anything he does. Right? He goes out there, and I faded him in this fight. I picked Ozzy Diaz to go out there and win this thing, right? And again, it was a close fight, so fair play. But Ozzy Diaz is not that good. Danny Barlow, I would like to think, is much better than Ozzy Diaz. Danny Barlow has won fights in the UFC. I like that he walks out the young Dolph, right? But at the end of the day, I feel like Danny Barlow is just a faster fighter. Coming up in weight here, he's going to have the lighter fighter skill advantage, man. I think he's going to be faster. That left hand's going to find a home. Good straight shots down the middle, sticking and moving. I think he picks apart Jourdain Santos. But if Barlow tends to fade in this fight, I could see Santos working himself into this and making it a lot closer, because Santos loves a dogfight, loves to go out there and just push a pace, throw caution to the wind. But I feel like Barlow can make him pay for that. Give me Danny Barlow to outscore him and win a decision here. Next, we got Bruno Silva versus Hyun Sung Park. I'm going to go Hyun Sung Park by second round TKO stoppage. Listen, Hyun Sung Park he's a prospect that a lot of people have had their eye on, man, because this is a guy that came over into the UFC, came off road to the UFC, right? Comes out here, gets a submission victory against Choi, goes out there, gets the nasty KO against Shannon Ross, comes out here, submits Carlos Hernandez. Then he was supposed to be fighting Steve Erceg a week later. They move him up a week. He ends up fighting Tatsuro Taira in a 5-round Apex main event. That was a disaster, man. It was an absolute disaster. I knew Taira was going to run through him. I'm sure we all kind of did there. Way too big of a step up too soon. Tatsuro Taira is elite in the flyweight division, man. His ground game is really good. His striking is very, very much improved. Very hard matchup for Hyun Sung Park. Here's the reality. Bruno Silva's not that good, man. He just isn't. And I know that he's rattled off some wins, beat, Victor Rodriguez by finish, submitted Tyson Nam, beat Cody Durden, but Durden was doing pretty good in that fight up until, things went south, right? He's coming off of a KO loss to Manel Cap, KO loss to Joshua Van, so those are two of the better guys in this weight class. I don't know that Hyun Sung Park is top of the food chain in this weight class skill-wise, but I think he's much better than Bruno Silva at this point. Bruno Silva's pushing 36. We got a 29-year-old, almost 30-year-old Hyun Sung Park. Park's got fast hands. He's good on the feet. I think he's the faster, better striker on the feet. When it comes to the ground game, I knew Bruno Silva's pretty good there, but Hyun Sung Park, prior to the Taira fight, he showed that he's actually really good on the ground, man. He can take your back. He's very, very comfortable on the ground. I don't know that that's where he wants to play the game here, because I feel like if Bruno Silva's going to win, it's probably through the ground game outside of landing some sort of power shot on the feet. I'm just going to ride with the speed of Hyun Sung Park, man. I believe in this guy, right? I picked him in his fights prior to Tatsuro Taira. I faded him in that fight. That was a huge step up in competition. Tatsuro Taira dominates Bruno Silva and gets him out of there, I think, in the first round. So I'm going to go Hyun Sung Park with his speed and his power and his striking on the feet. He's comfortable on the ground. Don't let that loss to Tatsuro Taira cloud your judgment in my eyes. Give me Hyun Sung Park to go out there and get a TKO stoppage over Bruno Silva. Next, we got Charles Jourdain versus Davy Grant. I went back and forth on this one because Davy Grant has been the prospect killer. He's been out there killing the prospects, man, finding a way to, even if he doesn't win the fights, he makes them close. But I am going to fade him in this one. Maybe I'll regret it. I am going to go Charles Jourdain by decision. Listen, Charles Jourdain sense adjusting weight classes. Charles Jourdain is one of those guys that he's 7-7-1 in the UFC. He's been around for a while, kind of grown up in the UFC, almost 30 years of age, a lot of experience, 8 wins by knockout, 6 by submission, right? But look at his losses. He lost to Andre Fili, Julian Erosa, Shane Burgos, Nathaniel Wood, Sean Woodson, lost to Silva. I mean, this is a good guy, man. He's fun to watch. He's dangerous. He's dynamic, right? And it was a close fight against a tricky guy in Sean Woodson, right? Goes out there and gets KO'd by Jean Silva. Jean Silva was way bigger than him. There was a significant power advantage. Then goes out there, submits Victor Henry, makes it look easy. I feel like in this fight, it comes down to Charles Jourdain. Yeah, he's going to have, I do believe that he has a power advantage over Davy Grant, but he also is super fast, man. Even though he's the guy that's, dropped down to the bantamweight division, he still carries, very, very good speed. I still think he's faster than Davy Grant. I think he hits harder, right? But again, Davy Grant, he's Mr. Underrated, right? He's a guy that'll make you pay for picking against him, right? 3 years ago, starches Luis Smolka. Beats a Sun Sal. That was, I think a come-from-behind performance, if I remember correctly. That was good stuff by Grant. Goes out there. I thought he won this fight against Daniel Marcos, who's a pretty good prospect. Goes out there, pulls off I think he was an underdog in this one. Beats Ramon Taveras. Beats Damon Blackshear to where he was an underdog there, right? Davy Grant's dynamic, right? He can kind of pick and poke at you from range. He's tricky. Switches stances. Good little kicks. Decent shots with the hands. But I feel like Charles Jourdain is going to land the more damaging shots here. Maybe Charles Jourdain can find a finish here. Davy Grant, known for, just kind of being a scrappy guy in there. I'm going to say Charles Jourdain gets this one done by decision. I think he's going to land the more damaging shots. He does have very good speed still, even though he's dropped to the bantamweight division. I like the power. I like the speed. I like the versatility from Jourdain. He's also good on the ground as well. I'm not saying he's going to submit Davy Grant. I could see that, though. He's good on the ground, man. Charles Jourdain's got a nasty guillotine, good submissions, very, very slick. While Davy Grant's been rattling off the upset victories, it could be wrong here, right? Maybe Davy Grant makes me pay, but I'm going to go Charles Jourdain here. I like what I've seen from him in the bantamweight division. He's fast. He's got power. I feel like he passes the Davy Grant test here at home in Canada. Give me Jourdain by decision. Next, we got Kyle Nelson versus Matt Frevola. I'm going to go Matt Frevola by knockout here. I'm going to say it happens in the very first round. Listen, I don't like Kyle Nelson at lightweight. I just don't. I don't. And what we've seen from Kyle Nelson, right? He's 4-5 in the UFC, 4-5-1, 6 wins by knockout, 4 submissions, 6 decisions. I just say he's unreliable. That's the reality of Kyle Nelson. He's coming off of a loss where he got starched by Steve Garcia. But, Steve Garcia, to be fair, is an absolute savage in the featherweight division. Rattled off a couple wins, right? Beat Blake Builder, okay? Beat Fernando Padilla, beat Bill Algeo by finish. That was pretty impressive. But I feel like Matt Frevola is better than those guys. Here's the problem with Matt Frevola. He's going to have the power advantage. I think he's just a better overall fighter at this point, right? Kyle Nelson, when you're moving up weight classes, we always talk about, well, the lighter fighter, they're going to be more skilled, they're going to be faster, all those kinds of things, where I just don't see that for Guram Kutateladze's doppelganger here in Kyle Nelson. I don't see that. Man, he really looks like Guram, doesn't he? I just don't see that for Kyle Nelson. He's not that fast. He's not that powerful. He doesn't really do anything particularly great. Matt Frevola hits way harder than him. The problem is Matt Frevola, out of his last 6 fights, he's 3-3, and all of them have ended in finish. So he's either getting the KO or he's getting KO'd. So he's very much a do or die type of fighter. That kind of scares me. That scares me because I feel like Matt Frevola is definitely going to put himself in the line of fire. So, of course, Kyle Nelson could find that shot. But are we that scared of Kyle Nelson's finishing ability? I don't think so, man. I don't think Kyle Nelson's that great. I don't. And Matt Frevola, look at these fights, man. He's out there knocking out Valdez, going out there beating Aiemann Zahabi, KOing Drew Dober, getting knocked out by Benoit Saint-Denis, Faraz Ziam. These guys are way better than a Kyle Nelson, man. And he's had moments in some of those fights. So I'm going to trust the power and the well-roundedness of Matt Frevola. I feel like if the fight hits the floor, Frevola might have the edge there as well. And he's definitely got the power. He hits way harder. Right? And I don't feel like I said, Nelson moving up a weight class, I don't feel like he carries this lighter fighter skill that would really propel him to win this type of matchup. I don't think so. I'm going with the power and the well-roundedness and the battle-tested Matt Frevola to get this one done by a knockout. Next, we got Cody Gibson versus Aoriqileng. I'm going to go Cody Gibson by decision. Listen, I'm not impressed with either one of these guys, man. I'm just going to be honest. I'm not impressed, right? Cody Gibson in the UFC's 3-6, right? Went on, I think it was tough, right? Finds his way back into the UFC. Grizzled veteran, been around for a while. 7 wins by knockout, 5 by submission, 9 decisions. I just think he's more well-rounded in this fight, right? I feel like Aoriqileng, he hasn't beat anyone good. Who the heck is this guy beaten? His most recent victories, he beats Jay Perrin. I don't even know who that is. Beats Johnny Munoz Jr. I guess that's a half-decent win, right? But for the most part, he's getting dominated on the ground by Raul Rosas. But we know Raul's good on the ground. Loses and gets finished by Aiemann Zahabi, right? So we know that Aoriqileng's going to come in, want to look to strike. I feel like maybe he's a little bit better on the feet, but I feel like the range advantage of Cody Gibson is going to be a factor here. He's got a couple-inch reach advantage. He's a little bit taller. And what I like about this fight is while I think it's close on the feet, and I don't think either one of these guys is that good, I'm going to favor Cody Gibson's well-roundedness. I feel like on the feet, he can have success there. You know, with those long man straight shots he likes to throw. I feel like he can mix in the takedown attempts, keep Aoriqileng guessing. I think I'm butchering that name, but I'm going to roll with it. Aoriqileng. I think Cody Gibson mixes in the takedowns. I think he mixes it up, lands some good straight shots on the feet. I just feel like the guy that has the more well-rounded skill set, he's got more ways to win. Gave me Cody Gibson to win this one by decision. Low-level fight here, but I'll ride with the guy that has a more well-rounded game. Next, we got Manon Fiorot versus Jasmine Jasudavicius. Let me look at my notes here. I'm turning my page here. I'm going Jasmine Jasudavicius by a finish on the ground. I know that this sounds nuts, man. I know that this sounds nuts because on paper, I think Manon Fiorot is actually a really bad stylistic matchup for Jasmine Jasudavicius. And maybe it plays out that way, right? Because I feel like a lot of people are going to write off Manon Fiorot. I know she's the favorite coming into this, but she is coming off of a competitive decision loss to Valentina Shevchenko, where she fought for the title. I picked Valentina to win that fight for exactly the reasons that we saw. Valentina, yes, she's good on the feet. She wasn't necessarily going to be better than Manon Fiorot. Manon Fiorot has shown that she's a very rangy striker. She's big for the weight class of 5'7" with a 66-inch reach. She usually weaponizes that. 6 and moves from the outside. 6 wins by knockout. 6 decisions. 7-1 in the UFC. She has brick wall takedown defense. That's always been the bright spot for Manon Fiorot. Right? Holds wins. You know, she got a KO stoppage over Tabitha Ricci. That's impressive. Goes out there, beats Thug Rose Namajunas, then goes out there and beats Erin Blanchfield. So you might say, well, she's beating an Erin Blanchfield. Why is she going to beat, how can she beat Jasmine Jasudavicius? I think she can. If she stops the takedowns and keeps the fight on the feet, I feel like Manon Fiorot can definitely get this thing done. Here's the issue, though. I really like what I've seen from Jasmine Jasudavicius, man. I've been really high on Jasmine. I like what I've seen from her. I feel like she's the best fighter that's representing Canada in the UFC right now. I mean, she has been rattling off these wins, man. Goes out there and submits Priscilla with a Darce. Goes out there, beats Fatima Klein. Submits De Silva. Goes out there, beats Mayra Bueno Silva. He's got a pretty solid ground game. Goes out there and submits Jessica Andrade. So maybe Jasudavicius goes out there and just wins this by decision. But I feel like Jasmine's striking has improved, right? I know people are going to talk about, well, the Tracy Cortez fight. What about the Tracy fight? Jasmine was landing some decent shots against Tracy Cortez, man. Like, she's shown that she can stand on the feet and trade with some good strikers. Like, Tracy Cortez is pretty good. She's got a very good stick and move style, right? I'd say that Manon Fiorot is probably better than Tracy Cortez at this point, right? Manon Fiorot's scary on the feet, right? If she could stop the takedowns and keep it on the feet, I feel like that definitely favors Fiorot. But I just feel like Jasmine's ground game, like if Valentina Shevchenko is taking you down, I feel like Jasmine's going to be able to do that. I feel like even at this point, Shevchenko, yes, she's still a legend. She's one of the best female fighters of all time. Yes, her ground game has improved leaps and bounds throughout her career. I feel like right now, Jasmine, at almost 37 years of age, she's really hitting her stride. I feel like she is a better grappler at this point than Valentina Shevchenko. I do. And I feel like the striking of Jasmine, she's durable. She tucks her chin well, moves forward, lets her hands go, throws a nice little calf kick out there, which changes because Fiorot's a southpaw here. I'm going to go Jasmine Jasudavicius, man. I think that she gets a stoppage here. If not, I'm going to say, that it ends in a decision, but I'll go out on a limb and say that she gets a sub here, man. I feel like her ground game is next level. And I know that Fiorot, yeah, she beat Erin Blanchfield. If she stops the takedowns, yes, Fiorot can stick and move, let the kicks go and the rangy shots on the feet. I get it. But I feel like Jasmine's different on the ground, man. I think that she is. And we saw in the Valentina fight, if you can push a pace, you could back Fiorot up, you could get her off her game. With the threat of the takedown, opening up the shots upstairs for Jasmine, I feel like she outpoints her and is able to get this thing done, man. But I feel like when the fight hits the floor, Fiorot's going to be desperate. She's going to try to scramble back to her feet. And I think that Jasmine is going to be able to lock in a submission in this fight. Again, kind of a little bit of a long shot getting a stoppage over Fiorot. She's shown she's durable. She's shown how game she is. But I just believe in Jasmine, man. I like her ground game. Her striking on the feet has improved. I feel like definitely, that edge still goes to Manon. And yeah, it does scare me how good Fiorot's defense has been. but I'm going to trust Jasmine Jasudavicius to go out there in front of the hometown crowd and get the biggest win of her career. And then if she gets this thing done, man, she might be fighting for the title next. So I'm going to ride the Jasmine Jasudavicius hype train. I've been high on her for a while now. I think that she finds a way to get this thing done over a super game Manon Fiorot. Interesting fight, though, man. Very, very competitive one. Next, we got Marlon Chito Vera versus Aiemann Zahabi. I'm going to go Marlon Vera by decision. I've thought a lot about this one, man, because, look, the concern with Chito Vera is he's been away for a while, right? He was supposed to fight Mario Bautista. That fight fell apart, right? His last time out, it was over a year ago against Davison Figueiredo, to where, yeah, he lost the fight, but he got dropped, right? I know Figgy's fast, he's powerful, right? Especially coming up from flyweight to the bantamweight division, but seeing Chito get dropped, like, he's known for being Mr. Durable. Right, so I'm not saying that like necessarily is a cause for concern in the durability, but I am a little bit worried. Right? And then he lost to Sean O'Malley in the undeserved title fight. But before that, right, beat Pedro Munoz, right? Goes out there, starches Dominic Cruz, loses to Corey Sandhagen. That was not a split decision. Corey definitely won that fight. Here's where I get worried, right? When you pick Marlon Vera, it's a 3-round fight. You worry about the slow start. Aiemann Zahabi coming out, getting ahead, mixing up his shots, just putting the volume out there to where he gets so ahead with the lead, with the volume, that Chito basically just needs a stoppage in order to get it done. However, I like Aiemann Zahabi, man. He looks like Ariel Helwani. Ariel Helwani's doppelganger. I like Aiemann Zahabi. He's been rattling off a nice win streak here, 13-2 as a pro, beats Ricky Tercios, finishes Aoriqileng, goes out there, beats Javid Basharat, beats Pedro Munoz, is coming off of a big decision victory over Jose Aldo. I feel like people are quickly forgetting how competitive that Jose Aldo fight was, man. Like, people were crying that was a robbery. Jose Aldo almost finished Aiemann Zahabi, man. Zahabi showed grit, durability, toughness, was able to survive. Aldo blew his load, blew his gas tank, right, and kind of faded, and then Zahabi took over. Right, I know, he's training under, Firas Zahabi's brother. I get all that, and they're going to have a good game plan here. But I feel like people are writing off Chito Vera, man. Chito's been in there with some of the best guys in the world in this weight class. He's still only 32, almost 33 years of age. He's got the reach advantage. Chito Vera's got a dynamic attack, man. Good elbows, decent hands, good front kicks, side kicks, a dynamic attack to where I think that this is going to play out on the feet, and, who's got more of an arsenal? I think it's Chito Vera. I think he's more dangerous than Zahabi. I know Zahabi has the ability to put people away, but is he going to put Chito away? I don't think he possesses the skills to do that. And does he have this world beater type of ground game? I don't think so. Maybe he takes down Chito Vera. I'm right. We've seen Chito have some issues getting taken down, spending too much time on the ground, not being able to get back up to where he loses on control time. Definitely a possibility. But I feel like Chito is going to come out here aggressive, man. He did that in the Figueiredo fight. It was the power. It was the speed of Figgy that was giving him problems. I don't think Aiemann, he's kind of got this weird NPC type of style to where he kind of throws out these wild boxing combinations. I just feel like Chito is the better overall fighter, man. It just worries me that he gets off to these slow starts. That is my biggest concern. If this was 5 rounds, I don't really have any hesitation. I would pick Marlon to win this thing. But given it's a 3-round fight, we know that even if he puts pressure on early, he falls behind, on the scorecards in terms of, Zahabi will be out there throwing the volume, racking up the points. But I'm going to go Marlon Vera by decision, man. I think the front kicks, the kicks from range, the switching of the stances, the pressure, that was a close fight with Jose Aldo, man. I know I'm not saying that people aren't saying that wasn't a close fight, but I feel like, yeah, Zahabi's good. He's got the momentum going. He could go out there, just, put on the snowball effect, march Chito down, add up the points, and outscore him here. But I feel like Chito Vera, he's got some power that you got to be careful of, especially when it comes into the kicks. I feel like Chito's going to move forward, let the kicks go, punish Zahabi from range, and anytime Zahabi tries to move forward, I feel like that's where we're going to see Chito stand his ground and land some of those shots. Give me Marlon Vera to win a very close decision over Aiemann Zahabi, but I could definitely see Zahabi getting this one done. I think that this is one of the closer fights on the card for sure. Zahabi's got the momentum. He's going to come in with a good game plan to where if he could take Chito down, win on control time. But you're getting into a scrap with Aldo. I know Aldo, he had his way with Chito. I get all that stuff. Aldo's got good boxing, good power. But I feel like people are sleeping on Chito in this fight, man. He's got good kicks. He's a dog. He's a savage. Yeah, he spent some time away. Yeah, he's been banged up. But I feel like he's going to come back with a little bit of a reinvented mindset here. I feel like he's going to come out more aggressive. Give me Chito Vera to get this one done in a very competitive fight. But like I said, wouldn't be surprised if Zahabi gets ahead on the scorecards and gets this one done. Competitive fight, but I got Chito getting it done. I'm a big fan of Chito, but I just think his kicks are going to be the difference. Co-main event, we got Kevin Holland versus Mike Malott. I'm going to go Mike Malott by decision here. Don't make me regret this, Mike Malott. Don't make me regret this, man. Mike Malott is one of those guys that when he shows up, I think Mike Malott is a guy to keep your eye on in the welterweight division. However, we all know about the Mike Malott performance where he got the big opportunity against Neil Magny, was winning the first 2 rounds convincingly, beating up the legs of Magny, and then he gets drugged to the ground after fatiguing and beaten up and finished by Neil Magny, which in hindsight, I mean, Magny's rattled off some nice wins, beating Jake Matthews, beating Zaleski dos Santos, right? And Neil Magny's a guy that's only losing to the most dangerous guys on the rise in this weight class, right? And to be fair, Mike Malott was putting it on him, right? And outside of that, I mean, Mike Malott has shown that he is a UFC caliber fighter, man. This guy's a finisher. He's good on the ground, right? Goes out there, beats Trevin Giles, right? And kind of what was, felt like he was a little bit gun shy coming off of the Neil Magny loss. Then goes out there and starches Charles Radke, which was a great performance. The reality is I worry here because Kevin Holland's one of those guys you just don't know who's going to show up. Is it going to be the Kevin Holland that's worried about a 45-70? Is it the Kevin Holland that's going to be out there letting the right hand go, opening up, landing shots? Is it the Kevin Holland that's going to come in and try to grapple? Right? Because Kevin Holland at welterweight is a totally different grappler than the guy at middleweight. Right? And Kevin Holland's been pretty good in the welterweight division. Right? And a lot of these losses, right? Loses to Roman Dolidze, had the rib injury, that's at middleweight. Right? Loses to RDR, that's at middleweight. Beats Gunnar Nelson. Beats Vicente Luque. I think Mike Malott beats both of those guys at this point. Right? And then he's coming off of a loss against D Rod to where that was at welterweight. He looked horrible. Kevin Holland looked absolutely horrible against Daniel Rodriguez. D Rod dropped him. Almost got Kevin Holland out of there. D Rod at one point was a pretty solid fighter, but at this point, he's older and slow, and I think kind of just, washed up to a degree. And I feel like that's kind of what we're looking at Kevin Holland to a degree, man. Like Kevin Holland has the skills, but you just can't trust him. Kevin Holland's liable to go out there and starch Mike Malott with a right hand or hurt him and then submit him. It's very possible. But that's kind of what you're banking on with Kevin Holland. You don't know what you're getting. Mike Malott, to me, is the better fighter at this point, right? Kevin Holland has a crazy reach in this weight class. He's got like an 8-inch reach advantage here. He's a taller, rangier guy. But I feel like Mike Malott has hit his stride, man. I feel like that Neil Magny loss kind of was something that woke him up, man. I feel like he's a good striker. He's got the grappling. I feel like he comes out there, lets the calf kicks go, switches stances, lets his hands fly, mixes in some of the ground game maybe. I think he outscores Kevin Holland in this fight. But you got to be careful because Kevin Holland, he's a different grappler in the welterweight division, man. He's got pretty good submission skills. So, don't sleep on Holland in this fight because you never know what Kevin Holland's going to show up. But I feel like Mike Malott is actually a legit contender in the welterweight division. Give me Mike Malott to get the biggest win of his career here against Kevin Holland in a competitive fight. But like I said, you never know what Holland is going to show up. But I will trust Mike Malott to get this one done and get the biggest win of his career. All right, main event time. If you're enjoying this video, if you could do me a favor and please subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate it. We got Reinier De Ridder versus Brendan Allen. When I reacted to the news that Brendan Allen was going to be stepping in for Fluffy Hernandez, I was pretty dismissive of Brendan Allen. I was like, people were like, don't sleep on Brendan Allen. I'm like, I'm snoozing on him, right? And that was a little bit blown out of proportion. That was a little uncalled for by me, man, right? I was pissed off that we lost to RDR versus Fluffy fight. But here's the reality. I think Brendan Allen is a lot more of a challenge than what a lot of people might think. Originally, what I thought, right? I went back and watched the tape. But at the end of the day, I still am going to go RDR, and I'm going to say he wins by decision here. But here's the reality of Brendan Allen. Throughout his career, he's 13-4 in the UFC, 5 KOs, 14 submissions, 6 decisions. His past couple fights here, gets the decision win over Marvin Vettori. He looked very good in this fight. Was able to take Vettori down at times, right? Landing good strikes from the outside. Brendan Allen's got underrated striking. I've been saying that for a while. He's known for his ground game. Decent wrestling, predominantly, more so relies on his jiu-jitsu. Loses to Fluffy Hernandez. Did very well in the first round. Probably won the first round, I think, in this fight, right? Then we just see the IQ lapses with Brendan Allen. That's the story with Brendan Allen. He has these lapses in judgment, man. We just see the fight IQ become a problem. Ends up, Fluffy just kind of snowballs, does his thing. We know Fluffy's super good, man, right? Then he goes out there and has a lot of success in round 1, and he's controlling Imavov on the ground. Another good first round by, Brendan Allen. Then drops the last 2 to Nasruddin Imavov. That's the story of Brendan Allen. Against the elite opposition, comes out, looks very, very good early on, and then he just kind of fades as these guys start to figure him out. He gets away from what's working, right? Submits Paul Craig. Wins a split decision against Chris Curtis. A lot of people felt that that was a robbery. Brendan Allen has only been stopped twice in his UFC career, and that was earlier in his UFC career. Got stopped by Chris Curtis and Sean Strickland. I feel like he's got underrated striking, man. His bread and butter is his grappling, but on the feet, styles make fights. You could say, well, RDR was just in there with Whitaker, and Whitaker's a better striker than Allen, but, it's the style that Allen brings. He's not afraid of a scrap, right? 6'2", 75-inch reach. He's kind of a more physically imposing guy in the middleweight division compared to some of these other guys, man, especially when it comes to the grappling. Brendan Allen's not afraid to get after it. And I believe that these guys have probably crossed paths over at Killcliff, because I know that, RDR trains over at Combat Brothers, but as well as, I think he spent some time over with Henry Hooft over at Killcliff. So I'm sure that these guys are familiar with each other. It's an interesting stylistic matchup. So I respect the fact that Brendan Allen finds a way to not get submitted. He finds ways to survive in these fights against the elite opposition. Maybe RDR does find a submission, because RDR is legit on the ground, man. He's legit on the ground. He's got excellent judo. He's got that nice single leg out in space. If he gets you up against the fence, he gets to his throws, to his trips. That's where RDR, I think, is going to try to live in this fight. Push Allen up against the fence. That knee is literally, it's one of the best weapons in MMA right now. RDR kind of spams it, right, which got him in trouble against the Whitaker fight. That's what got him dropped and almost finished in that fight. But outside of that, he was stuck on the feet with Robert Whitaker for damn near 25 minutes in that fight. And he did pretty well. Right? He's got that goofy-ass, striking where it doesn't look pretty good. Things are a disaster. He's tripping over his feet, just kind of pawing a jab out there. It's not real technical, but it works. It was busting up the face of Robert Whitaker. And then that knee is hellacious, man. It is. But he starts to spam it from a little far away, right? But so maybe Brendan Allen can make him pay for that. But I feel like Brendan Allen is maybe the better overall striker. But I feel like RDR has more of a danger factor when it comes to the knees and the elbows and close. And that jab is actually pretty good from De Ridder. But outside of that, he's not particularly good on the feet. I feel like when it comes to the ground game, Brendan Allen can kind of hang with him. But I feel like the physicality of RDR, man, it is a problem for a lot of guys in this weight class. It just is. It is. I feel like RDR crushes the space, lands the jab at range, gets in the clinch, works those knees to the body, takes some wind out of the sail of Brendan Allen. Maybe he stops Brendan Allen with some of those knees, man. They're nasty, dude. They're absolutely nasty. Maybe he gets into that half guard position, the top positions, locks up an arm triangle. We've seen him do that when he gets on top in that half guard spot. Brendan Allen, RDR has been great since coming into the UFC, man. Submits Gerald Mearshard. That was a disastrous performance, though. Made GM3 look like a glory kickboxer. Goes out there, easily disposes of Kevin Holland. Stops Bo Nickel with the knees to the body. Goes out there, beats Robert Whitaker by split decision. You could see those knees were wearing on Robert Whitaker, man. But Brendan Allen gets a lot of shit, man. Like, a lot of people shit on Brendan Allen. And first time around, I was pissed off that the RDR versus Fluffy fight fell through. So I was being a little bit dismissive to Brendan Allen. But when I put it to the side, my frustration, I go back and I watch the tape. Brendan Allen is kind of a tough stylistic matchup because in terms of the grappling, he's got good jiu-jitsu. So I feel like he could kind of hang with RDR on the floor. Right in the clinch, I give RDR a big advantage there with the elbows, the knees, the sweeps, the throws. I feel like that favors RDR. But out in space, outside of the jab, and spamming that knee from the outside, Brendan Allen's probably the better striker, is he not? He might be. Good long straight boxing combinations, some solid kicks. I feel like Brendan Allen, and given that he has the grappling, if he could stop the grappling, keep the fight on the feet, I feel like maybe he could outscore RDR. Not going to rule that out, man. I think it's a competitive fight. I think it's more competitive than what I originally thought, but I am still going to go with Reinier De Ridder, man. Rattling off these wins left and right. He was preparing for Fluffy Hernandez. That was a big opportunity for him. Again, another big opportunity here against Brendan Allen. I think RDR wins a competitive decision here. I'll say he gets this one done over Brendan Allen. Maybe he finds a submission. Maybe he melts him with the knees to the body. But Brendan Allen has shown that he's durable. He can hang with some of the top guys in the weight class, even though he might not win those fights. Maybe he has early success. I think RDR eventually finds a way to win a lot more of the moments in this fight. Give me RDR to get this one done. But if you guys enjoyed this video, please give it a like. Let me know what you think down in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you do not miss an upload. I would appreciate it. See you next time.